How you guys doing? I'm Chris Ignato. You're watching Nature Here and Now. How about that handwork? So, okay, this is a quick video on worm snakes, and I just want to share with you some of the variation among the species. Over the last bunch of years, I've found countless worm snakes, and some of them can vary greatly. They're all relatively the same in appearance, though. When they're pretty small, they could be fairly pink or light brown, even dark brown, which you could see how they could be easily mistaken for worms. You know, when the sunlight shines through them, they almost glow, pink. But as they get older, their scales tend to darken and look a bit more solid. That sunlight doesn't shine through them so easily, and it becomes easier for you to see that you're looking at a snake. Of course, like worms, worm snakes are fossorial. They spend most of their time underground or beneath rocks and logs. You'll barely ever find them in sunlight or free roaming. They also don't get very large, do they? I mean, you'd be lucky if you find one that's over 20 inches, and any of the ones I've seen are about a foot long or just a few inches. They're very mild-mannered species, and I've never heard of anyone being bit by one. Maybe they'll try to escape, but for the most part, they just kind of hang out. And if you're holding them, they might try to wedge their head between your fingers or dig down. They also have this characteristic point at the end of their tail. It's almost a hardened scale. I have no idea what it's used for. It might be used for digging. Maybe it's to confuse predators, make them not sure what end it is, or maybe they use it as a threat display. If you happen to know, definitely let me know in the comments below. I'm really curious, and it's interesting to me. Now, if you're lucky enough to find a worm snake on a sunny day, if you observe it in the sunlight, you'll notice that their scales are really iridescent. You know, you pretty much get this rainbow shimmering in the sunlight, and it's very beautiful. If it's a smaller individual, like I said, that sunlight will just shine straight through them, and they kind of take on this pinkish glow. I love worm snakes. They're really neat. They're very common, but they're still tricky to find because they live underground. You know, they usually feed on worms, crickets and soft-bodied insects and stuff, but they're not an aggressive species at all. They're very shy, very reclusive, and they don't get very big. Yeah, there's some variety among the worm snakes. I mean, they could be anywhere from pink to light brown or even dark brown when they're old enough. The iridescent sheen on their scales is really nice to look at, and they're just really fun snakes. If you want to find them, try looking around the woodland edges, near forests and stuff, checking under the rocks and logs like most snakes. But, I found worm snakes before and actually thought I found a worm and just went about what I was doing. I get home later on, I'm checking my footage, and I'm like, oh, that wasn't a worm. It was a snake. So, if you're out there herping and you think you found a worm, take a second look. It just might be a worm snake. They're a lot of fun. Thanks a lot for watching. I'm Chris Ignato. I'll see you in another video.